President John F. Kennedy was assassinated on the 22nd of November 1963. The assassination occurred in Dealey Plaza, Dallas, Texas. President Kennedy was riding in a motorcade at the time of the shooting. He sustained 2 gunshot wounds during the attack. These wounds proved to be fatal, resulting in his death. The assassination of JFK took place in Dealey Plaza, Dallas, Texas. Dealey Plaza is a complex intersection of streets, offering multiple escape routes. The Texas School Book Depository overlooks Dealey Plaza. The depository provided a concealed and elevated position for the shooter. Lee Harvey Oswald was an employee at the Texas School Book Depository. Oswald was apprehended following the murder of police officer J.D. Tippit. His arrest occurred shortly after the assassination. Oswald was a former U.S. Marine. He held Marxist sympathies. Oswald's background and affiliations became central to the investigation. Jack Ruby was a Dallas nightclub owner. Ruby reportedly had connections to organized crime. Lee Harvey Oswald was in police custody. Jack Ruby fatally shot Lee Harvey Oswald. The shooting occurred while Oswald was in police custody. President Lyndon B. Johnson initiated the Warren Commission. The commission was formed to investigate the assassination. The Warren Commission produced a comprehensive report. The final report consisted of 888 pages. The Warren Commission was tasked with investigating the assassination of President Kennedy. The commission's findings were compiled into an official report. A key conclusion was the origin of the shots fired at President Kennedy. The commission determined the shots came from the Texas School Book Depository. Specifically, the shots were fired from the 6th floor southeast corner window. This location became a focal point of the investigation and subsequent analysis. Commission Exhibit 399, referred to as the Magic Bullet, is a key piece of evidence. This bullet allegedly passed through President Kennedy's neck. Subsequently, the same bullet struck Governor John Connally. This impact resulted in multiple wounds to Governor Connally. The bullet's relatively intact condition after causing these injuries was a notable observation. The Warren Commission investigated the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. A key finding was that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone in the assassination. The commission found no evidence of a broader conspiracy involving Oswald. This conclusion stated that Oswald was not involved with any foreign or domestic groups. The Warren Commission investigated the circumstances surrounding Lee Harvey Oswald's death. Jack Ruby was identified as the individual who fatally shot Lee Harvey Oswald. The commission's official finding was that Ruby acted independently in the murder. This conclusion dismissed the existence of any broader conspiracy to silence Oswald. Public skepticism surrounding the initial investigation led to calls for a re-examination. New evidence emerged, further fueling the demand for a more thorough inquiry. The U.S. House of Representatives responded by forming the House Select Committee on Assassinations, HSCA. The HSCA was tasked with conducting an official re-investigation into the matter. The House Select Committee on Assassinations, HSCA, investigated the assassination. The HSCA analyzed acoustic recordings from a police officer's motorcycle dictabelt. Acoustic analysis suggested a high probability of multiple gunshots. The HSCA determined a 95% probability that 4 shots were fired. This finding provided scientific evidence supporting a conspiracy theory. The House Select Committee on Assassinations, HSCA, investigated the JFK assassination. The HSCA concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald fired shots from the book depository. The committee determined that Oswald fired a total of 3 shots. One of these shots was identified as the fatal headshot that killed President Kennedy. The House Select Committee on Assassinations, HSCA, investigated the JFK assassination. HSCA proposed the theory of a second gunman involved in the assassination. This alleged second gunman was positioned on the grassy knoll. The HSCA suggested this second gunman fired a shot. However, the HSCA concluded that the shot fired by the second gunman missed its target. This finding remains a controversial aspect of the JFK assassination theories. The HSCA was unable to identify other gunmen involved in the assassination. The HSCA also could not determine the precise nature of any conspiracy. However, the HSCA suggested the U.S. Mafia possessed the means, motive, and opportunity. Anti-Castro Cuban exiles were also identified as potentially having the means, motive, and opportunity. A conspiracy theory suggests the CIA's involvement in Kennedy's assassination. This theory is based on Kennedy's alleged plans to dismantle the agency. The alleged motive stems from the Bay of Pigs invasion. Kennedy reportedly intended to reorganize the CIA following the failed operation. One conspiracy theory suggests the Mafia was involved. The alleged motive was retaliation for Attorney General Robert Kennedy's actions. Kennedy aggressively prosecuted organized crime figures. This prosecution may have spurred the Mafia to seek revenge. A conspiracy theory suggests anti-Castro Cubans were involved in Kennedy's assassination. Their motive was theorized to be anger towards Kennedy. This anger stemmed from Kennedy's perceived abandonment during the Bay of Pigs invasion. The failed Bay of Pigs invasion fueled resentment and a desire for retribution. Pro-Castro Cubans, or the KGB, are theorized to have motives related to past CIA actions. A primary speculated motive involves retaliation for CIA plots. These plots allegedly aim to assassinate Fidel Castro. Thus, revenge is considered a potential driving force behind the actions of these groups. This theory suggests a direct link between past CIA operations and subsequent retaliatory actions. President Kennedy's efforts towards peaceful relations with the Soviet Union were perceived as a threat. His administration's consideration of withdrawing from Vietnam also caused concern. These actions allegedly endangered the financial interests of defense contractors. This is a key element within the military-industrial complex conspiracy theory. The theory suggests that powerful entities profit from sustained military spending and conflict. This theory suggests a coup was orchestrated by political adversaries. It implicates Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson as a potential participant. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover is also alleged to have been involved. The alleged motive was to seize political power. This theory posits that these individuals conspired to undermine the existing power structure. Many conspiracy theories exist without sufficient supporting evidence. Credible evidence is required for a theory to be considered valid. The lack of conclusive proof undermines the credibility of conspiracy theories in legal settings. Court of law requires credible evidence. Lee Harvey Oswald has been identified as the shooter. Oswald allegedly fired the shots that resulted in President Kennedy's death. The shots were fired from the Texas School Book Depository. Evidence suggests Oswald was positioned within the depository at the time of the shooting. This identification places Oswald as a central figure in the assassination of President Kennedy. The Warren Commission investigated the assassination. The commission's official finding was that Lee Harvey Oswald was the sole assassin. This conclusion stated that Oswald acted independently. No evidence suggested involvement of other individuals or groups. The HSCA revised the official conclusion regarding the JFK assassination. The revised conclusion stated that Oswald was the shooter. However, the HSCA added that Oswald was probably part of a conspiracy. This revision introduced the possibility of a broader network involved in the assassination. The JFK assassination is still debated due to inconsistencies. Mysterious deaths of key witnesses fuel speculation. Questions challenge the lone gunman theory. Lingering doubts persist about the official explanation.